The alarm sounded across the UEMS Mercy as it drifted through the quiet of space. Captain Ethan Moore rushed to the bridge, his boots making soft thuds against the metal floor. The ship's lights switched to alert mode, casting everything in a soft blue glow. "What do we have?" Ethan asked as he took his seat at the command station. Amy White, the communications specialist, turned to face him. Her fingers moved quickly over her screen. "Distress signal from Proxima Centauri B, Captain. The colony is reporting a widespread illness. It's affecting both humans and the local Proximans." Ethan frowned and leaned forward. Proxima Centauri was the closest star system to Earth, but the colony there was still new, only 5 years old. The fact that both species were sick was troubling. "Put it on screen," he ordered. The main display lit up with the face of a woman. Her skin was pale, and dark circles hung under her eyes. "This is Dr. Helen Ward at New Hope Colony. We have an unknown illness spreading fast through our settlement. Over 40% of our people are showing symptoms, and the Proximans in the nearby village are getting sick too. Our medical supplies are running low. We need help." First, Officer Jack Collins stood beside Ethan's chair. "That area is near Krell territory. There have been reports of increased Krell activity in that sector." Ethan nodded slowly. The Krell Imperium was not friendly to humans. They were a warrior race that saw human expansion as a threat. But the Mercy was a medical vessel, clearly marked with the Red Cross symbol on its white hull. Under space law, even the Krell should respect a rescue mission. "Dr. Franklin," Ethan called over the ship's comm. "How fast can your team be ready?" Dr. Lisa Franklin's voice came through clearly. "We're already preparing, Captain. Give us 2 hours to set up the quarantine units and pack the right medicines." "You have 1 hour," Ethan replied. "Judging by Dr. Ward's appearance, this is moving fast." Jack looked worried. "The Krell might see this as humans trying to strengthen their hold on border systems." Ethan stood up and walked to the main viewport. Beyond the glass, stars stretched into the darkness. "We're a medical ship, Jack. We go where people need help. That's our job." "Yes, sir," Jack said, though his face showed he wasn't fully convinced. Ethan turned to the navigation officer. "Charlie, set course for Proxima Centauri B, maximum safe speed." "Course set, Captain. Travel time is 18 hours at top speed, Charlie," Hansen replied. "Make it 16, Ethan said. The engines hummed louder as the Mercy turned toward its new destination. The medical ship was not built for speed, but it was reliable. Ethan had served on the Mercy for 5 years, the last 2 as its captain. Before that, he had been in the Earth Defense Force, but he had found more meaning in saving lives than in military actions. As the ship accelerated, crew members throughout the vessel prepared for their mission. In the medical bay, Dr. Franklin and her team loaded supplies and checked equipment. In engineering, the team pushed the engines beyond their normal limits to gain those extra 2 hours. The Mercy passed the outer markers of the Sol system. Now they were truly heading into deep space. As they approached the border region, Ethan ordered a shipwide message. "This is Captain Moore. We are responding to a medical emergency at Proxima Centauri B. We will be passing near Krell territory. All crew should record messages for family now as a precaution. Though we are a medical vessel and protected under the Galactic Medical Treaty, we should be prepared for all possibilities. The people of New Hope Colony are counting on us. Moore, out." In his private quarters, Ethan recorded a short message to his parents back on Earth. Then he returned to the bridge. The stars streaked by outside as the Mercy raced toward those who needed help, its white hull gleaming against the blackness of space, the Red Cross a promise of aid to come. The UEMS Mercy slowed as it entered the Proxima Centauri system. "Captain." Ethan Moore stood on the bridge watching the main screen as the red dwarf star grew larger. The small blue-green planet Proxima Centauri B hung in the distance, their destination. "Broadcast our medical status on all frequencies," Ethan ordered. "I want everyone in this system to know we're here to help." Amy nodded and began sending the message. "UM's Mercy, Earth medical vessel on humanitarian mission. We are unarmed and responding to a distress call from New Hope Colony." In the medical bay, Dr. Lisa Franklin checked her supplies one last time. Her team had spent the journey studying the disease data sent from the colony. The illness seemed to attack both human and Proxima nervous systems, despite their different biology. "We'll need to set up a field hospital as soon as we land," she told her staff. "Pack the portable isolation units first." Back on the bridge, Jack Collins frowned at his screen. "Captain, I'm picking up ships entering the system, 3 vessels moving fast." Ethan tensed. "Can you identify them?" Jack's face grew serious. "Krell warships, Corvette class." The bridge fell silent. Ethan straightened his uniform. "Continue, broadcasting our status. Add that we welcome inspection to verify our medical mission." The main screen flashed and a Krell commander appeared. His scaled face and yellow eyes filled the display. Behind him, other Krell moved around what looked like a warship bridge. "Human vessel," the commander said, his voice deep and harsh. "You have entered territory claimed by the Krell Imperium. Leave immediately." Ethan stepped forward. "Commander, we are the UEMS Mercy, a medical ship responding to a health crisis on Proxima Centauri b. We carry no weapons. We are here to treat the sick, including local Proximans who are suffering." The Krell's eyes narrowed. "Humans always hide their true purpose. We know you bring weapons to your colony." "That is not true," Ethan said calmly. "We invite your inspection. Teams aboard to verify our medical status. We hide nothing." Dr. Franklin entered the bridge and stood beside Ethan. "Commander, I'm Dr. Lisa Franklin, Chief Medical Officer. The disease is spreading quickly. It affects both species. We have treatments that may work, but we must reach the colony soon." The Krell commander stared at them. For a moment, Ethan thought he saw uncertainty in those alien eyes. "Send your inspection team," Ethan said again. "See for yourself." The Krell warships moved closer, surrounding the Mercy. On the tactical display, Jack noticed weapon systems coming online. "Captain," he whispered, "they're powering weapons." Ethan kept his eyes on the Krell commander. "We are a medical vessel protected under galactic treaty. The screen went blank. Seconds later, the ship shook violently. "They fired on us." Charlie yelled from navigation, "Direct hit to our starboard side." Alarms blared throughout the ship. The lights flickered and turned to emergency red. Ethan grabbed his chair as another blast rocked the Mercy. "Damage report," he shouted over the noise. "Hull breach on decks 3 and 4, Jack replied, his hands moving quickly over his console. "Medical bay hit. Engineering reports drive core damage." Ethan punched the shipwide comm. "All hands, evacuation stations. This is not a drill." He turned to Amy. "Send a mayday to Earth Defense Command. Include all sensor data of the attack." Amy worked frantically at her station. "Transmitting now, Captain." Another blast hit, larger than before. The bridge ceiling collapsed in one corner. Sparks flew from damaged equipment. Through the viewport, Ethan could see the Krell ship circling, like predators. "Message sent," Amy called out, blood running down her face from a cut on her forehead. Ethan nodded and opened a final channel. His voice was steady despite the chaos around him. "This is UEMS Mercy. We are a medical vessel. We came to save lives." A massive explosion tore through the ship. The bridge filled with blinding light. The Mercy broke apart, pieces of the white hull with its red cross spinning into the darkness. Inside, 142 doctors, nurses, and crew members perished in seconds. The Krell ships turned away, leaving only floating debris where the medical vessel had been. Admiral William Carter stood in the Earth Defense Command Center in Geneva. His face showed no emotion as he watched the final transmission from the UEMS Mercy. Around him, military officers and government officials watched in silence. When the IDOIOE screen went white with the explosion, many looked away. "Play it again," Admiral Carter said quietly. "Full audio this time." The technician nodded and restarted the recording. Captain Moore's calm voice filled the room. "This is UEMS Mercy. We are a medical vessel. We came to save lives." Then static. "That's enough." Admiral Carter turned to face the United Earth Council members who had gathered for this emergency meeting. The Krell destroyed an unarmed medical ship with 142 people on board. They were responding to a distress call from our colony on Proxima, Centauri B. The people there are still dying from an unknown disease. Across Earth, the news spread quickly. People watched the attack on their screens at home, in offices, and in public spaces. The Red Cross symbol of the Mercy, clearly visible as it was destroyed, became an image no one could forget. In a small house in Ohio, Greg Franklin sat with his young daughter, Kelly. They had just learned that Dr. Lisa Franklin would never come home. Kelly held her mother's medical school graduation photo and cried. At Houston Medical University, students and teachers gathered in the main hall. 5 of the doctors on the Mercy had studied there. Now their names would be added to the memorial wall. Captain Moore's elderly parents watched the news from their porch in Maine. They had been proud when their son gave up his military career to save lives instead. Now they sat in silence, holding hands. Back in Geneva, the Krell ambassador had been called to answer for the attack. He stood before the council, his scaled skin reflecting the bright lights. The vessel was in territory claimed by the Krell, Imperium, the ambassador said. Our ships took necessary action against what we believed was a military intrusion. It was clearly marked as a medical ship, a council member replied. It broadcast its status on all frequencies. The Krell ambassador's yellow eyes narrowed. Humans are known for deception. We had reports of weapons being delivered to the colony. Admiral Carter stepped forward and played another recording, the complete sensor data from the Mercy, showing it carried no weapons, only medical supplies. Then he showed images of the patients waiting for help on Proxima Centauri B. 142 medical personnel died trying to help these people, Admiral Carter said. People who are still suffering and dying as we speak. The council chambers grew silent. Even the Krell ambassador seemed uncomfortable. The head of the United Earth Council, Maria Reyes, spoke directly to the Krell ambassador. We demand the following: full acknowledgement of this crime, surrender of those responsible, reparations to the families, and safe passage for a new medical ship to help the colony. The Krell ambassador straightened to his full height. The Krell, Imperium acknowledges no crime. These demands show human weakness. My emperor will not bow to such requests. Maria Reyes looked at him with cold eyes. Then you leave us no choice. She turned to Admiral Carter. Admiral, you have your orders. What orders? The Krell ambassador demanded. Admiral Carter didn't answer. He simply walked out of the chamber, followed by his staff. In the hallway, he activated his comm unit. This is Admiral Carter. Activate the 3rd and 7th fleets. Call in all retired officers and veterans. I want every ship ready within 48 hours. His aide looked surprised. Sir, that's almost half our total fleet strength. Admiral Carter nodded. I know. What should I tell the commanders is our mission objective, sir? The aide asked. Admiral Carter looked back at the room where the Krell ambassador still stood. His voice was quiet but firm. Tell them we're going to respond. Earth's shipyards glowed day and night. What had been peaceful ports for trade vessels now buzzed with military activity. Admiral Carter watched from the window of his office as workers swarmed over the massive form of the UES Retribution. The warship had been in storage for 5 years, but now it would lead Earth's response. How long until she's ready? He asked the woman beside him. Captain Susan Miller checked her tablet. 24 hours, Admiral. The weapon systems are fully operational. We're just finishing the shield upgrades. Admiral Carter nodded. Susan had been his first choice to command the Retribution. She was calm under pressure and had more combat experience than any other captain in the fleet. You understand what we're doing here, Susan? He asked quietly. This isn't just about revenge. Susan looked up from her tablet. It's about sending a message. No one fires on a medical ship, not ever. Across Earth, the military buildup continued. Veteran soldiers and sailors returned to duty. Ships that had been exploring distant stars were called back. Old enemies of humanity set aside their differences to join the response. The attack on a medical vessel had broken a rule that all spacefaring races understood. In a small apartment in Chicago, Ben Harris packed his bag. He had been a cargo pilot before retiring 3 years ago. Now he was going back. You don't have to do this. his wife said, watching from the doorway. Ben zipped his bag closed. My cousin was a nurse on the Mercy. I do have to do this. In the Houston shipyard, engineer Kate Gordon worked on a battlecruiser's engine. She had left her good-paying civilian job to rejoin her old ship. Her hands were black with grease, but she smiled as the engine roared to life. That's what I'm talking about, she said to her team. Let's get this girl ready to fly. At the Officer Training Academy, Ryan Davis watched the news. His sister had been a nurse on the Mercy. When his commander offered to excuse him from the coming mission, Ryan had refused. I need to be there, he said. The Proxima ambassador arrived at Earth Defense Command. Admiral Carter welcomed the alien to his office. The disease has killed 300 more people since the Mercy was destroyed, the ambassador said. His blue skin looked pale under the office lights. Both humans and my people are suffering. We're preparing a second medical ship, Admiral, Carter assured him. But this time, it will have an escort. On the bridge of his flagship, the Krell commander who had ordered the attack on the Mercy reported to his emperor. Behind him, officers worked at their stations, monitoring Earth's activities. The humans gather their ships, the commander said. They make a show of strength. The emperor's face filled the screen. His scales were darker than other Krell, a sign of his royal blood. Let them come. Humans are soft creatures who hide their weakness behind words like mercy. When faced with real power, they will retreat. The commander nodded, but something troubled him. The ships gathering at Earth were not what he expected. These were not the peaceful exploration vessels he had seen before. These were warships, some old and bearing the marks of previous battles. At Earth Defense Command, Admiral Carter made one final attempt at peace. He broadcast a message directly to the Krell Emperor, with all Earth's allies listening. This is Admiral William Carter of Earth. The destruction of our medical vessel UEMS Mercy was a crime against all civilized races. We demand justice. Release those responsible. Allow our medical aid to reach Proxima Centauri. This is your final opportunity to avoid conflict. Hours passed. No reply came. Admiral Carter stood on the bridge of his flagship, the UES Determination. Around him, officers waited for his command. On screens throughout the ship, the faces of the Mercy's crew looked out, doctors, nurses, and staff who had died trying to save lives. All ships, Admiral Carter said. Prepare to jump. The human fleet, nearly 200 vessels strong, activated their engines. Blue light surrounded each ship as they entered faster than light travel. Earth was coming. The human fleet appeared at the edge of Krell territory, their ships forming a perfect line against the starry background. Admiral Carter stood on the bridge of the UES Determination, watching as his tactical display showed the positions of all Earth vessels. Status report, he ordered. His second-in-command, Commander Frank Lewis, checked his screen. All ships present and accounted for, sir. The Retribution battle group is in position. Captain Miller reports ready for Phase 1. Admiral Carter nodded. The plan they called Operation Hippocrates was about to begin. Named after an ancient healer from Earth's history, it was designed to be both a punishment and a lesson. Far ahead, Krell ships moved into defensive positions. Their fleet was larger than Earth's, with nearly 300 warships of various sizes. The Krell had always been proud of their military might, and they expected humans to be an easy opponent. On the bridge of the UES Retribution, Captain Susan Miller watched the Krell fleet's movements. Her tactical officer, Alan West, stood at his station, hands moving over the controls. They're forming a standard attack pattern, Alan said. 3 waves, heavy ships in the center. Susan nodded. Just as we expected. They still think in old ways. Activate Guardian defense systems. Throughout the human fleet, new technology came online. The Guardian system had been developed after the Mercy's destruction, designed to protect medical and civilian vessels. Now it would show its other capabilities. Admiral Carter opened a channel to the Krell fleet. This is Admiral William Carter of Earth. You fired on those who came to heal. Remember that choice. He closed the channel before they could respond. Then he gave a simple command. Begin. The human fleet moved forward, not in a charging mass as the Krell expected, but in smaller, coordinated groups. Captain Miller's battle group accelerated toward the left flank of the Krell formation, while other groups headed toward different points. The Krell commander ordered his ships to fire. Beams of energy shot toward the human vessels, but the Guardian systems glowed blue, creating shields that absorbed or deflected the attacks. Now, Admiral Carter said, human ships fired, but not at the Krell weapons or engines. Instead, they targeted command centers and communication arrays. The Krell ships, unable to coordinate, began to drift out of formation. On the Retribution, Captain Miller watched as her battle group broke through the Krell lines. Set course for the Krell homeworld, she ordered. Maximum speed. The Krell Emperor received word of the battle and grew angry. Stop the human ships. Protect the homeworld at all costs. The Krell commander tried to regroup his forces, but the humans fought in a way he had never seen. They didn't try to destroy ships completely. Instead, they disabled key systems and moved on, leaving Krell vessels floating helplessly. Admiral Carter watched the battle unfold on his tactical display. Earth ships took damage, but the casualties were far fewer than expected. The Guardian systems worked better than their designers had hoped. Sir, Commander Lewis called out, Captain Miller's group has broken through. They're heading straight for the Krell homeworld. Admiral Carter nodded. And the Proxima Centauri mission? The medical ship UEMS Promise has reached the colony with its escort. They're delivering supplies and treatment now. For the first time since the crisis began, Admiral Carter allowed himself a small smile. The people the Mercy had tried to save would now receive help. On the Krell homeworld, panic spread among the leadership. They had never expected humans to reach their home system. The Emperor ordered all remaining ships to fall back and defend the planet. The Krell commander knew this was a mistake. It revealed their central weakness, their hierarchical thinking. But he followed orders, pulling ships away from the battle to protect the homeworld. Captain Miller's voice came through on Admiral Carter's comm. Admiral, we've reached the Krell home system. Their defensive line is forming. Permission to proceed with Phase 2? Admiral Carter looked at the images of the Mercy's crew that still filled the screens around his bridge. Permission granted, Captain. Remember why we're here. Yes, sir, Captain Miller replied. For those who came to heal. The Krell homeworld came into view on the main screen of the UES Retribution. Captain Susan Miller studied the blue-green planet with its 3 small moons. The Krell defense fleet formed a protective ring around their world, weapons ready. They expect us to bombard the planet, Susan said to her bridge crew. That's what they would do in our place. Alan West nodded from his tactical station. All ships report ready for precision strikes, Captain. We can begin whenever you give the order. Susan took a deep breath. Launch the strike teams first. Then we'll begin the targeted attacks. Small, fast ships left the human vessels, heading toward specific points on the planet below. Inside these ships, Special Forces teams prepared for their missions. Commander Jane Wilson checked her gear one last time as her team's ship entered the Krell atmosphere. Remember, she told her soldiers, we want the military leaders who ordered the attack on the Mercy. No civilian targets. Their ship landed near a large military complex. Using stealth technology, Jane's team moved quickly through the compound. They disabled security systems and subdued guards without killing them when possible. Their target was the command center, where intelligence had located the officers responsible for ordering the attack. In orbit, the Retribution and other human ships began their precision strikes. They did not target cities or civilian areas. Instead, they hit military bases, weapon depots, and defense systems. The Krell had expected their planet to be destroyed in revenge. They did not understand the surgical nature of Earth's response. Sir, a Krell officer reported to his general, the humans are only attacking military targets. They're avoiding civilian areas completely, the general hissed in confusion. It makes no sense. Why would they show restraint when they have the advantage? Inside the command center, Jane's team found their primary target, the Krell commander who had given the order to fire on the Mercy. He sat at his desk, surrounded by officers. When Jane's team burst in, He reached for a weapon but stopped when he saw the humans had him surrounded. "Commander Vexelar," Jane said, using the translator at her belt. "By order of Earth Defense Command, you are under arrest for crimes against humanity and violation of the Galactic Medical Treaty." The Krell commander's yellow eyes narrowed. "You should kill me, human. It's what any worthy race would do." Jane shook her head. "That's not why we're here." As the human ships continued their precise attacks, a different kind of vessel entered the Krell atmosphere. It was white with a red cross, a medical ship. Dr. Paul Johnson led a team of doctors and nurses to areas where Krell civilians had been injured in the crossfire. A Krell mother watched in confusion as human doctors treated her wounded child. "Why do you help us?" she asked Dr. Johnson. "We are your enemies." "We're doctors," Paul replied simply. "We help everyone who needs it." In the Krell royal palace, the Emperor watched the events unfold with growing disbelief. His military advisors had assured him that humans were weak. Yet their attack had been precise and effective. Their ships had broken through Krell defenses easily, and now they were treating Krell wounded. When Commander Jane Wilson's team brought the arrested officers to his throne room, the Emperor stood from his seat. "What is the meaning of this?" he demanded. Jane stepped forward. "Your Highness, these officers violated one of the oldest laws of space. They fired on a medical ship. They will face justice under galactic law." "And if I refuse to let you take them?" the Emperor asked. Jane's expression didn't change. "We could have answered your cruelty with cruelty. We could have destroyed your world. Instead, we answer with justice. These officers will stand trial. The rest of your people will be spared." For the first time, the Emperor understood. The humans had shown not weakness but strength. They had the power to destroy but chose a more difficult path. "Take them," he said finally, "and leave our world." As the human ships prepared to depart, Admiral Carter received the news that the mission was complete. The officers responsible for the Mercy's destruction were in custody. The Krell military had been effectively disabled without massive civilian casualties. He looked once more at the faces of the Mercy's crew on his screens. "It's done," he said quietly. "You've been answered." 6 months passed. In a large hall on the neutral planet of Alpha Centauri, representatives from 23 spacefaring species gathered. The Galactic Tribunal had reached its verdict. The Krell officers who ordered the attack on the UEMS Mercy stood before the judges. "For the crime of firing upon a clearly marked medical vessel, this tribunal finds you guilty," the head judge announced. "You will serve 30 years in the prison colony on Titan, and your military ranks are permanently revoked." Admiral Carter sat in the Earth section with Captain Susan Miller beside him. They watched as the former Krell commander was led away. "Is it enough?" Susan asked quietly. Admiral Carter looked at the Krell. "It's justice, not revenge. That's what we fought for." After the trial, the new Krell government signed the Interstellar Medical Neutrality Treaty. The document stated that medical ships from any world would be protected in all space territories. The Krell Emperor himself added his mark to the treaty, a rare public appearance that showed the importance of the moment. Back on Earth, people gathered at the Spacefarers Monument in Geneva. A new section had been added, with the names of all 142 crew members of the Mercy. Families placed flowers beneath the names of their loved ones. Captain Moore's parents stood before their son's name, his father's arm around his mother's shoulders. Greg Franklin held his daughter Kelly's hand as they looked at Dr. Lisa Franklin's name carved in the stone. Kelly was 10 now and wanted to be a doctor like her mother. "Do you think she would be happy about what happened?" Kelly asked her father. Greg nodded. "She always said the most important thing was to help people who needed it. That's what came from all this. More help for more people." At the Earth shipyards, a new vessel prepared for launch. It was larger than the Mercy had been, painted white with the Red Cross symbol. On its hull, the name gleamed in fresh paint. UEMS Moore Franklin. Engineer Kate Gordon installed a memorial plaque inside the main medical bay. It showed the images of all the Mercy's crew. She ran her hand over the smooth metal surface. "There you go," she said to the empty room. Now you'll be part of every mission. Outside, ships from a dozen worlds waited to escort the new medical vessel on its maiden voyage. Some had once been Earth's enemies, but today they all flew the same symbol, a white flag with a red cross. Admiral Carter, now promoted to Fleet Admiral, gave a speech at the launching ceremony. He stood on a platform near the ship, facing the crowd of officials and family members. "We remember our fallen and answer injustice with strength," he said. "But we never forget that our greatest power lies in our capacity for mercy." The crew of the Mercy went to help those in need. Now the whole galaxy has learned that lesson. The new ship lifted off, its engines glowing blue against the sky. On the bridge, Captain Ryan Davis watched Earth grow smaller below them. He had been promoted after the Krell campaign and requested command of the new medical ship. His sister had been a nurse on the Mercy. "Set course for Proxima Centauri B," he ordered. "Let's see how the colony is doing after the treatments." The helmsman nodded. "Course set, Captain." As the ship accelerated toward its destination, Ryan made his first official log entry. "This is UEM's Moore Franklin responding. We are a medical vessel. We come to save lives." In the vastness of space, the white ship with its red cross moved steadily forward, carrying doctors and medicine to those who needed help. Behind it flew ships from Earth and a dozen other worlds, all united in a simple promise: those who came to heal would never again face fire alone. On the colony world of Proxima Centauri B, both humans and Proximans looked up at the night sky. The disease was gone now, thanks to the medicine that had finally arrived. And in that sky, they saw a new light approaching, another vessel of mercy coming not with weapons but with healing hands. 5 years had passed since the Krell incident. The UEMS Moore Franklin had completed dozens of missions across the galaxy, bringing medical aid to planets both human and alien. Its reputation spread far beyond Earth space. When the white ship with the red cross appeared in orbit, people knew help had arrived. Captain Ryan Davis sat in his office reviewing reports. At 42, his hair showed touches of gray, but his eyes remained sharp and focused. A chime sounded at his door. "Come in," he called. Dr. Sam Rivera entered carrying a tablet. As chief medical officer, he had served on the Moore Franklin since its first mission. "Captain, we've received a new distress call," Sam said. "It's from the Krell colony on Sigma 9. Ryan looked up in surprise. "The Krell? Are you sure?" Sam nodded. "Their message says a mining accident has trapped workers underground. Their medical facilities are overwhelmed." Ryan leaned back in his chair. The Krell Empire had changed since the war with Earth. Their new government focused more on trade than conquest. Still, many humans harbored ill feelings toward them. "What's our location relative to Sigma 9? Ryan asked. "We're the closest medical ship by 3 days, Sam replied. "If we don't go, those miners might die before help arrives." Ryan stood and walked to the small window in his office. Outside, the stars streaked by as the ship traveled at faster than light speed. On his desk sat a photo of his sister who had died on the Mercy. "Set course for Sigma 9, he said quietly. "Inform the crew we're responding to the Krell distress. Call." As the Moore Franklin changed direction, word spread through the ship. In the engine room, Chief Engineer Kate Gordon heard the news from her assistant. "The Krell?" the young engineer asked. After what they did to the Mercy, Kate adjusted a power coupling before answering. "That was different, Krell, different time. We go where we're needed. That's what this ship is for." When the Moore Franklin arrived at Sigma 9, they found a dusty mining colony with 3 massive pits extending deep into the planet. One had partially collapsed, trapping 40 miners half a mile underground. The Krell colony leader met them at the landing pad. He was younger than most Krell leaders, his scales still bright green. He looked nervous as the humans approached. "I am Trell," he said with a small bow. "Thank you for coming. Some of us feared you would not, given our history." Captain Ryan extended, his hand in the human greeting gesture. After a moment, Trell took it. "We're doctors and rescue workers," Ryan said simply. "We help anyone who needs it." The human team worked through the night. They brought drilling equipment to create a new shaft to the trapped miners. Dr. Sam led the medical team, preparing treatments for injuries and oxygen deprivation. A young Krell female approached Kate as she monitored the drilling equipment. "My father is down there," she said. "Why do you help us after what we did to your people?" Kate stopped her work and faced the girl. "Because that's not how we measure things. Your father needs help. That's all that matters today." By morning, they reached the trapped miners. Human rescue teams went down and brought up the injured Krell one by one. In the temporary medical facility, Dr. Sam and his team worked alongside Krell doctors, teaching them new techniques as they saved lives together. When the last miner was rescued, the colony held a celebration. Captain Ryan stood awkwardly as Trell presented him with a Krell crystal, their highest honor. "You have taught us something important," Trell said to the assembled humans and Krell. "True strength is not in weapons or conquest. It is in extending help even to those who once were enemies." As the Moore Franklin prepared to leave the next day, hundreds of Krell lined the path to the ship. Many held their hands in the human gesture of respect. Inside his office, Ryan looked once more at his sister's photo. "I think you'd be proud of this one," he said softly. He joined his crew on the bridge, taking his captain's chair. "Where to, next?" he asked. "Distress call from Tau Ceti," the communications officer reported. "Pandemic outbreak." Ryan nodded. "Set course. Best speed." The white ship rose from the Krell colony, its red cross gleaming in the sunlight, continuing its endless mission of mercy among the stars.